Hey everyone, Ryan Young, KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu. Hope you're doing well. Here we are on the longest day of the summer. Actually, longest day of the year, right? Summer solstice, June 21. 2022. Man, this year's going by fast. I still remember when it was Christmas. Anyway, let's kind of go over a question that somebody asked. So this is in response to the video I just did called, Can I Get a Black Belt? Or can you get a black belt? Hey Ryan, I want your advice. This is from DXRKHY. Hey Ryan, I want your advice. And hello, I've been watching YouTube videos for a while. After lockdown, I finally managed to get into a jiu-jitsu gym after trialing a few. I found one with an instructor that is a high level, but I believe the gym is sport oriented with little self-defense. I'm interested in the self-defense jiu-jitsu. However, looking into one I already attended, which has a black belt under a particular person who got a black belt under Hickson, you'd think that it teaches that style. Apparently it doesn't. After inquiring and asking questions, even attending, I just seen beginner jiu-jitsu. Seems like the question is avoided, and I'm only told they teach both. I'm told they teach both, meaning the self-defense. So I'm just kind of reading this. Or that jiu-jitsu is the same thing. Other aspects feels like I'm being taken for a ride. Facilities aren't that great, and feels like neither is the instruction. Big plus is the atmosphere with the students. So one thing when evaluating a student, a class, a school actually, you know, when I went to Hickson School on Pico Boulevard in West LA, it was a dump, but it was Hickson's jiu-jitsu. So, you know, for me, the location really wasn't a big deal when I was training, right? I left the Gracie Academy in Torrance back when I was on Carson Street. I left there, and it was a nice facility, nice, clean, very well put together. And I went over to Hickson School, which was, you know, he was just renting space in an old karate dojo behind an auto body paint shop, and it was in a place where there weren't any. It wasn't sealed. The business, the building wasn't closed, meaning it got really cold in the winter and it got really hot in the summer, and the bathroom was dirty, everything. But you know, it was like that old boxing gym that people go to, and they would never train anywhere else, and that's kind of how it was at Hickson's Pico studio. And I'm sure, I know that the one in Westwood was really nice, and in Palos, Palos Verdes? No, that's anyway, not important. The instructor of this gym is a purple belt, but also the black belt who supposedly owns the gym who is meant to instruct comes in here and there and makes out that he's unapproachable because he only seems to roll. So I'm pushed to inquire with the purple belt. The first place he went to, the atmosphere was questionable, the facilities were amazing, and the instructor is a very high level. Wants to know if I could kind of answer any questions. All right, let's go with that. So here's the thing. I have some videos that I've done on how to find a good jiu-jitsu school. For me, you know, these are just my criteria. I want clean. You know, that's my thing, because I don't want to get staph. I don't want to get ringworm. And it's just gross when you go onto a mat and you see hair and skin and dust, and the worst is when all that stuff is pushed out to the side, which means that they never clean the mat. Because as time goes on, you know, wherever the mat gets touched, that's where it'll be clean, right? But if it's around the edges, that's where hardly anybody touches, right? Especially the corners and the walls, so all the dust will accumulate there. I heard of one place that takes a leaf blower and just blows that stuff out, which is, you know, you're just blowing it all over the place, right? They should really be vacuuming it up and then disinfecting the mat after that. But you know, if you see all that stuff on the side, you know that it's not cleaned. They don't pick up, and they don't disinfect the mat either. They may do it some places once a week, once a month, who knows? Could be a spring cleaning thing, right? So for me, that's really what I'm looking for. Atmosphere is very important, because these are guys that you're really going to have to trust. Guys to not break your arm, guys to not put you out unconscious, although that does happen every once in a while. You know, nobody really means to be put unconscious, but it does happen. But you don't want anybody breaking your arm and, you know, popping your shoulder. You know, I've had that to where, you know, there's this one guy when I was living back in California. He was a blue belt, I was a purple belt. He was much bigger and stronger than me, but he liked to train. He had mats at his house. I had mats in my house, so sometimes we would, you know, get together and train. Well, one time I was at my instructor's house training there, he and and he locked the kimura up on me, and I just had it. I just had myself protected to the point where he would yank it. He would just try to muscle it, but you know, he had to pull my hand this way and then this way, so I would lock it this way and this way, so he couldn't, and I would just squeeze my lats to the point where he would actually have to lift me off the ground, and I'd still have it, you know, protected. Well, anyway, the instructor yelled stop. So when he yelled stop, I released, and he went and ripped my arm anyway, and that hurt like a mofo. But suffice to say, I've never trained with him again. That was the very last time I ever trained with him. Never called him after that. It just, you know, because I can't trust the guy. You know, he wanted to beat me so bad. He'd never beaten me ever up to that point. And you know, and just when he pulled it, it went pop. You know, so atmosphere is very important because you're going to need to trust this guy. Now, a lineage is an indicator, but it isn't necessarily a true determination of what you're looking for. You may be looking for a school that's, you know, competition focused school, and you want to be great in competition, so you go to a school where the world champion is, but the guy teaching his class is a self-defense minded guy, right? So he's teaching you know, punches, kicks, that type of stuff while you're on the ground and how to protect yourself. But you're thinking, nobody does that in a competition, right? Why am I wasting my time doing this? I want to just learn how to do the competition specific concepts and techniques. So, you know, obviously that's not the place that you want to be. However, for the most part, most schools, and I venture a guess to say 90% of schools, are competition oriented. So if you want to find a self-defense oriented school, good luck, right? Even if they have a lineage that is a self-defense lineage. And I'll give you an example without naming the actual master that, you know, is the head of this affiliate program. I went to a school once. I was visiting some family, and my wife's cousin's children, so my kids' second cousins, one of them wanted to come along with me. I told him I was going to drop into a jiu-jitsu class locally because I had been there for a week and I wanted to get some training. And I thought, let me go and visit this school. I just looked in, and I know this lineage, so I thought to myself, okay, you know, this lineage is what I want to go. I don't want to go to some other school. I'll go to this one. And I went in there, and they did a very light warm-up. They did the old 5-minute stretch. They ran around a few times on the mat, did some shrimps. Okay, so that's you know, a good indication. And then they went from there right into doing a crucifix. No headlock escapes, no bear hugs, no grabs, no close a distance clinch, takedown, none of that stuff. They just went down and started doing crucifix. So in my mind, I'm not looking to join the school because I'm just visiting, but my cousins, you know, my wife's cousin's son was looking to join. So so I said, you know, I just said, well, you know, this is really the only place. I figured, you know, it's just maybe this instructor, but he was one of the founding instructors at the school, you know, one of the owners. And I thought, well, okay. So, you know, eventually we do a couple things that he teaches. Then we start training, and I'm training with a black belt, and he immediately starts doing that, you know, that roll on the ground. You know, the one that people do against the walls. You know, they're inverting and rolling and inverting and rolling. They put their feet on the wall and they come in and they roll across the wall. They roll down. You know. Anyway, I'm standing there looking at him, and he's just doing that, and I'm doing that. I'm looking at him, and I'm going, what the hell is this? So when he came in, I just shot right in, and I, you know, ended up passing his guard and all that. But I thought, man, this is so odd, right? I didn't expect this type of jiu-jitsu from a school that came from a self-defense lineage, because the master himself still teaches the self-defense. In fact, he has a curriculum, and in his requirements for testing, they have to do all the self-defense. Now, granted, they don't have to do it till later in the belts. I think like purple belt or brown belt is when they have to know the self-defense. Whereas with us, we do self-defense all the time. So from white belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown, black, you're doing self-defense the whole time, as well as groundwork, right? But with us, it's, you know, we tend to have a longer class, and we also make it to where you do all the jiu-jitsu, you know, you do self-defense, and we do sequences to take you to the grappling and stuff. But with us, it's always a fight in mind. It's not so much a competition. But you can compete with it just fine, right? Having connection, having, you know, correct weight distribution, and knowing the concepts and techniques, you can compete perfectly fine. And you know, our students do just as well or better than other schools that compete. Um, you know, everybody, you know, because it's an individual thing. So you know, some will lose, some will win, but you know, I think most of our students win. But you know, that's, like I said, it's an individual thing. But at the same time, I know that our students at Combat Jiu-Jitsu, it doesn't matter what campus you go to, they will be well versed in self-defense. And if something should happen to them outside of the school, that they have as good a chance as anyone to be able to take care of themselves. You know, and that's ultimately the most important thing. So if you're looking for that, you know, for this particular, you know, person sending the question, my advice to you is just try and find another one. Try and find another one. And don't give up, because if my arbitrary number of 90% of the schools are competition driven, meaning they don't do the traditional self-defense Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, then you might have to go through 9 to find, you know, the one that you want as number 10. Now, as far as the atmosphere and all that, and the cleanliness of the studio, you know, all that is important as well. So it's not easy finding a good jiu-jitsu school. You know, most of us, we just find a place based on proximity. We do have people that actually seek us out, and they actually drive from pretty far away. You know, my campus here in Texas is in Flower Mound, but you know, we have people coming out from south of Fort Worth, you know, almost Burleson. We have people coming out from Aubrey, which is north of Dallas, right? We have people coming out from I don't know, Arlington, from places that aren't really easy to get to Flower Mound, of all places. Because Flower Mound is just a tiny, not a tiny, it's a small town. They call it a town, but it's a really small city. And it's not super centrally located, but people will make the drive to come to us because they know what we teach and they want what we teach. And the same thing goes with our Irvine campus. You know, you have people coming from Temecula, which is 2 hours away. We've had people come from North San Diego County, which is also, you know, maybe an hour and a half or so away, and people coming down from LA to come and train with us. And that, going down to Orange County, takes a couple of hours as well, depending on traffic. So you may need to drive a distance to find the school you want, right? When I lived in LA, you know, it was Gracie Torrance and it was Hickson School. And Hickson School was a drive for me. But I made the drive. You know, Gracie Torrance was 5 minutes away from my house, but I went to Hickson School. So keep looking, don't stop, look for what works for you. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Take care. Happy training. Bye now.